Thank you for joining our talk today on requeening. I'd like to start by thanking Mary Andre for her support and mentorship. Um,
Mm,
for requeening, we'll be talking briefly about reasons for requeening, ways to requeen, introduction of a mated queen, and pitfalls. We may requeen our colonies for a number of reasons. Thinking about colony genetics, we may want bees with better hygienic traits, more resistance to varroa, or we may have a spicy colony and want to improve the temperament. We also think about replacing queens when our queens are old. This is a pattern on the right of spotty brood, and there's many reasons for spotty brood. But one of the reasons is that a queen has run out of sperm and she thinks she's laying worker bees, but in fact, she's laying drones. And when the workers recognize that a drone egg is inside of a worker cell, they'll remove that, resulting in this spotty pattern. Also, colonies with an older queen are more likely to swarm in the spring, so some people proactively requeen every year to prevent swarming. There are several ways to requeen. We're going to be focusing today on introduction of a mated queen because we have all these mated queens coming in a few weeks. Um, in the future, we may be talking about queen cell addition, and you can also encourage your colony to produce queens. But today, we're talking about introduction of a mated queen. So, what are the steps involved with requeening? The first step is finding your old queen, the current queen in a colony. Um, and some tips if you're still learning to find a queen are to look at frames with open brood. But generally, the frame's in the middle, but not always. And there may be a surrounding retinue, which I like to describe as like the corona of a sun. Um, sad bit is euthanizing the queen. You ask 10 beekeepers, you'll get 10 answers on how they best approach this. I tend to put something I can't see over her and squish her. It feels less personal. But some people, I think Jan has put her in a plastic bag and freeze them, dropping them in rubbing alcohol the same as we've done in mite washes. Or some people put the queen into Everclear, which is just 100% alcohol to preserve the pheromones for a bait hive in the future. You may want to strongly consider feeding your hive. Um, Mary shared this great article today from Harry Laidlaw, who's one of our um, expert beekeepers and a UC Davis researcher. And he wrote, "It is wise during a dearth or even during a light flow to simulate a good nectar flow by feeding sugar syrup to the colony to be requeened. This should be done for several days before the new queen is placed in the hive and continue until the new queen is laying. At no time during this period should the feeder become dry because this stimulates the end of the nectar flow." And one of my concerns was, if we're feeding right now, a lot of us have honey supers on, but it sounds like the benefits of feeding now may outweigh that small introduction of sugar, especially thinking about the next couple of days. Like we're going into a period of rain for a couple of days. It's like a light dearth. Um, this is a way of feeding your hives. It's not very disruptive. You can put in entrance feeder or a mason jar with small holes in the metal cap with syrup on top of um, um, the top frame, the inner cover, pardon me, and surround it by a box. The next step is waiting. So after you've removed the colony, it's advisable to wait at least 48 hours, which allows time for the current or the your previous queen's pheromones to dissipate, so the colony realizes it's queenless, which makes it more likely to accept a new queen. If you're in an area with a lot of scutellata genetics, or if you have a defensive colony, you could even wait 5 to 7 days. I wanted to share this cool trick I learned when I was perusing YouTube videos in preparation for today. Someone proposed that a strategy that would prevent formation of queen cells from the original hive with requeening. So before removing your current queen, cage her and leave her in place in the hive alive for 7 days. And then once you go through and remove the colony, again, 2 days before you're introducing the new queen, the colony won't have any eggs or larvae to make new queens. So just another strategy if you have lots of time on your hands. Next, let's talk about candy plug management. Um, Again, this talk is focused primarily on this upcoming queen delivery, in which our Golden West queens will be arriving in three whole cages, which are also called Benton cages or queen mailing cages. And I have an empty one here, but there's three holes drilled. There's a hole on either side, and the queen will come with a candy plug on one side, and both of these small ends will be corked. For now, leave the end with the candy plug corked. Um, and in areas that are Scutellata dense, you may also consider putting some duct tape over that cork. Just another pearl. Why is it called queen candy? This is a pearl from Mary. Do queens eat the candy? Does anyone know the answer? Oh, here's the answer. Most of the time, the queens are not eating the candy. They're letting their workers eat the candy, and the workers feed them mandibular substances. And only in the setting where a queen is really in dire straits will she actually eat the candy. The candy also serves as a barrier eventually to allow the um, queen, the workers of the colony to have time before they sort of chew her out. So there's more time to acclimate. All right. Next step is thinking about our attendants. So when our queens come in these three whole cages, they will come with the attendants that will be feeding them. So there'll be, 4 to 5 bees in here, one the queen, and the rest will be workers. And ideally, we remove these workers from the cage, but leave the queen inside. This will improve the likelihood that the queen will be readily accepted. There's also theoretic risk of reducing infection transmission and other things. So, um, when we imagine this three-hole cage, candy on one side, you'll leave the cork on the candy side, but the cork that doesn't have candy on it, you'll remove that. In this image here, someone's using a knife. That's one option. You could also use a screwdriver or the end of your hive tool. And however you do this, try to do it without damaging the cork because we'll want to put that cork back in. And if you happen to remove the cork or injure the cork, pardon me, or damage the cork, it's not the end of the world, but you want to put something else in there like Mary suggested toilet paper and then cover it with tape. Now, once you have that cork out, um, you'll need to allow these workers to escape, but again, ideally leave the queen inside. And there are many potential ways to do this. Some people use a queen muff. Well, there's a picture here of someone with a queen muff that you're looking down inside of this whole cage and trying to just open your finger when the workers are close. Um, this is actually what I like to call the Mary's finger strategy. So it's like, you can just look at this cage and look to see when the workers are getting close to the top, that opening. And when you see a worker close by, open the cage and allow the worker to come out. Another one of our beekeepers in our community recommended actually doing this with a clear straw and putting a clear straw in that open end so that you can watch to see who's marching up out of that hole. And if you happen to see the queen marching up, you can just turn it upside down and let her march back into the cage. Um, One other note about the strategy with the finger technique, you could consider wearing a thin glove or tape your finger just to prevent any stings. Where should this be done? If you do this in the wide open, you run the risk of your queen ending up in the wide open. But if you do it in a smaller space, you have a greater likelihood of catching the queen if she escapes. So this could be in a small closet, could be in a small room, ideally with windows that are low because they will often move towards the windows. One of our beekeepers recommended doing this. He does this in his car, which again is another closed space. Um, Another point about where to do this is in the shade. So wherever you're doing this, you don't want your queen to get too hot. So we've talked about doing this in a queen muff, using the finger technique, the straw technique. You can also try transferring all of the bees over to a queen catcher or marking device. So I did this once and I just kind of opened it up and placed it on top of the marking device and let them all march down. Closed up the marking device, let the workers come out, and then once only the queen remained, I delicately placed the whole of the cage on top of like blocking the other entrances and allowed the queen to come back into the cage and then re closed it with the cork. All right. For installation, we will be inserting this three-hole cage horizontally with the screen down. And by putting the screen down, you're helping protect the queen from any honey falling on top that may injure her. And just in general, if a queen becomes injured, she's more likely to be superseded. So find an area, a frame with open brood, hopefully in an area around where you're not going to damage too much brood, and you're going to push in the the cage into the brood again horizontally, screen down. Some people also describe placing a slight angle on that horizontal placement so that the any candy that becomes like warm and humid and drippy drips out rather than dripping onto the queen, again, reducing the risk of injury. Once you have that cage pushed into the brood frame, you return that frame into the hive and then kind of push another frame of brood up against that um, to secure her in place. Hey, Ian, just stop me if there are questions. Anyone have questions so far? All right.
And folks are welcome to also write questions in the chat. If you don't want to unmute, you can write questions in the chat and then I'll let them know as we go along. Yeah. I'll let Gaia know. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. So now we have placed our queen into the hive. We're going to wait 48 hours or up to 5 to 7 days if you have a very defensive colony to allow your colony to acclimate to your new queen's pheromones. And at that point, you can reevaluate and see what's going on. If you take a look at the bees, so you pull out the cage, and if you see that the behavior around the queen is really calm, like they're attending to her, but they're calm, and they can easily be brushed away. It's time to remove the cork that's blocking the candy plug. You can remove that cork and then replace the queen back into the hive. So you'll keep the cork in place without the candy plug, but now what you've done is allowed a pathway for the workers to let the queen out. So it'll take a couple days for them to chew out the candy, but once they do, the queen will be released. On the flip side, you may see bees that are very aggressive, that their mandibles are clenched into the top screen and they cannot easily be brushed off. Some people call this the Velcro sign. When you're trying to brush the bees off, Mary had a good point that try not to rub your finger too hard on the screen because the queen may be on the other side holding onto the screen and we don't want to injure her legs again because like injury to the queen increases the chance of supersedure. So if you find that your queen, your workers are really just glommed onto that cage still, just put her back in for another 5 days before you reevaluate.
Yeah, on a related question with that
Yeah.
danger to injuring the
Mhm.
queen's feet, like her leg parts. Uh,
Mhm.
Colleen in the chat asked if the queen cage is horizontal with the screen down, does that put the queen at risk of attack from the workers until she's accepted in a few days? That is, she's standing on the screened portion. Is there any increased risk there of having it oriented that way for potential damage from the workers? Or would it make a difference if it's horizontal versus vertical for the potential damage that workers could do to her through the cage?
Great. I think when we're weighing the pros and cons, that probably it's a net benefit to leave the screen down, that the risk of injury of her feet from really aggressive workers is not as high as her risk of being covered in honey or um, other injury.
And she can hang on to the sides and the top. She doesn't have
Mhm.
to, she's got claws, so she can hang on other places. She doesn't have to be on the screen.
Thanks for that question, and thank you, Mary.
Very good. And one other quick question.
Mhm.
Well, actually, two other quick questions. I'm trying to
Yeah.
keep track of them. One is if folks ordered the whole package and not just the queen, will the queen
Mhm.
also in the queen in the package will also be coming in the three-hole cage with her few attendance workers, or how are the queen packages packaged in the cage delivery? I mean, in the packages.
For folks that ordered a package, a Golden West package, the package will come with a queen in a miniature cage. It's also called a California miniature cage, and it's skinny with no attendants. So it's different.
Oh, I see. Mary is holding up a
Oh,
option.
great. Thank you, Mary. So this
Mhm.
is Mary, can you hold up the three-hole cage next to it too so you can see the difference? Yeah, so that it's a mini cage with just the queen.
Okay.
And we focused our talk today on the requeening of just the queens, but rest assured there are presentations that are focused on package installation alone. And when you receive your package, there'll be instructions on how to install that queen. But it's like a similar approach for packages because the package bees and the package queen, they don't know each other. They're getting acclimated to each other, but they're still strangers. So a lot of these principles will still apply.
And one other question was in terms of placing the queen cage there between the frames oriented down,
Mhm.
is there any recommendation about using rubber bands or anything to hold it in place? Someone mentioned having one fall down, or is usually
Mm.
like snugging up the frames around it sufficient or anything like that to recommend?
Well, I'm always happy to hear people's experiences. In the two videos I watched from like OHB and Man Lake, they described just pushing it into the comb sufficiently. Um, and I could imagine potentially rubber bands being good. I would almost worry the rubber band might like turn. I don't know. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that?
If you're requeening, you've got drawn comb in there, and so you can just push that cage into the comb. It's when you are putting a queen on foundation that sometimes people will use a rubber band, but
Mm.
there are other ways to do that. And I just like to say on the packages, there are videos that are both on the buy a package, link and on the website and member resources. There'll be about packages. So there's a couple videos on how to manage the queen, how to install a package, and how to manage the queen in the packages that we're getting. And my understanding is both of the Golden West and the Italians in the packages are coming in the mini queen cages versus the JZBZs.
Thank you very much.
I think the previous year they had like the little queen pack, or the little queen cage. They had like a little clip on top, like
Mhm.
aluminum clip, and it was over to go over one of the frames. But
Yes.
it was kind of loose a little bit, so I put a rubber band just to keep it in place, just in case if it fell off. But it did have that little clip.
And that's in the video. If you watch the video that I show you what to do with that little metal
There you go.
thing. You have to bend it up, twist it
Uh-huh.
90 degrees and put a hook on it.
Oh.
These are really meant for the people making packages. So you got to modify the way it hangs a little bit for when you're introducing a queen.
And a cautionary tale for the California mini cages and these three-hole cages, you really want the screen to be exposed to the worker so that the workers can feed the queen. Otherwise, the queen may starve. All right. The next part is monitoring for eggs and removing any queen cells. So 7 days after you've exposed the queen candy, come back and check to make sure that your new queen is laying eggs. You may at that time see queen cells from the existing eggs and larvae from your prior queen, so make sure to remove any of those to minimize the risk of supersedure. All right, some pitfalls. Sometimes the queen is just rejected. The bees can recognize their own queens through her pheromones for some time. And if a colony still has the pheromones from a prior queen, the queen that's placed into the colony will be interpreted as an intruder and is killed, which is one of the reasons why we recommend waiting at least 48 hours for that washout period of the pheromones. Some people swap out the queen on the same day as they squish it, but your chance of rejection is higher. A new queen may be injured or have weak pheromones, resulting in requeening. Um, and if you come back in a few weeks or a month, now this is say you're coming back a month later and you see queen cells, that means that your queen is being superseded. So at that point, this isn't a queen cell from your original queen. This is queen cells from your new queen, but they don't like her. They're making a new one. So your choice is either let them make a new one or obtain a new queen. But once you're past the point of your colony making a queen cell from your existing eggs and larvae, which is up to actually 4 to 6 days, um, then you want to let them requeen or obtain a new queen. Otherwise, your colony will be queenless. Similarly, if a new queen is poorly mated, she will be superseded. And then there are hives that are hopelessly queenless. So if you have a colony that's been without a queen for 3 to 4 weeks, the ovaries from the workers, which are normally suppressed by the juvenile hormone of the brood, but if the workers' ovaries are allowed to just kind of bloom, so to speak, they will begin laying eggs and they'll become laying workers. And laying workers, once they become laying workers, don't like to give up their territory to a queen, and it's very hard to requeen those hives. Eventually, the colony will be mostly drones because laying workers only lay drones, and it will collapse.
Speaking of
All
a
right.
sorry, speaking
Yeah.
of a queenless hive, Gaea, there was a question in the chat, and Mary
Mm-hmm.
answered it in part. Someone asked, they have a queenless colony, and they've been using the temp queen to sort of forestall the possibility of laying workers temporarily while they're waiting for the arrival of
Mm-hmm.
the delivered queens. And they're wondering how many days ahead should they remove the temp queen, if they should remove the temp queen before introducing the new queen. And also where in the hive set of frames should they place that new queen if there is now no brood in that area? Mary in the chat noted that the temp queen is on a full bouquet of pheromones, so it's not necessary to remove it in the same way that you would remove an existing queen. But maybe can we elaborate on that a bit and just explain how to use that temp queen, when, whether to take it out or not, and where to place the queen cage in the actual hive structure, even if there's no brood.
Yeah, maybe I'll answer part of that and then defer to Mary, which is
Okay.
if when we're inserting the queen, I would similarly insert it in the middle of the colony. So between like frame 4 or 5 or 5 or 6, and similarly placed. And in terms of queen mandibular pheromone, actually, Mary just did quite a bit of research to learn about the potential utility of QMP in this setting. Mary, do you want to share what you learned?
So out there, like some places it says that it will prevent queen cell formation. That's like not substantiated in any of the research. Research only shows, yes, it will help inhibit the workers from becoming laying workers. So only use it for that purpose is probably wise. It's being advertised to do lots of things that are not supported by the research. Then a question for, I think it's Monica. Do you have any other colonies?
No, I don't. It's my one
Okay.
colony. Yeah.
Okay. That's one of the reasons we recommend more than one. If you had brood from another colony, it would be nice to put a frame of brood with the nurse bees in, but it's for just other people if they're in a similar situation. But and it's still got a good number of bees in it.
It does. It still does, although
Okay.
I think they're declining because it's been like a few weeks already.
Right, right. So just
Yeah.
put the new queen kind of in the center where all the bees are hanging out. They're going to hang out, in a not a cluster, but together. And so just put that queen cage where they're all gathered.
And I ordered the whole package, so I will have the queen coming
Oh,
with the whole, yeah, whole bunch of
oh,
bees.
okay.
Thank you.
So yeah,
And one of the things I might recommend is that when you go in to install the queen, look for signs of laying workers. So really, like the spotty brood pattern of laying workers is it's called like the shotgun strategy. I think it's just like workers here and there, and you may see multiple eggs inside of cells. Mary,
yeah. Don't install the package into the laying worker colony. Talk to your cluster leader on how to do that. You'll not want to put it in with the
Okay.
laying workers.
and
Okay. Thank you.
it's really hard to give those up because oftentimes there are many queens, but
There are ways, but you don't
yeah.
just plop them in the colony.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, Gaea, that's it for questions for right this moment.
Great.
Mhm.
I'm pretty excited about this. I'm driving a U-Haul with my husband with all of these queens, and I had this thought the other day, like, what if something happens? And I don't think something will happen, but like
I
there's
have
a
that
lot
thought
of
every
stress
year.
that involved in this process. So
Yeah.
thank you for your trust.
Yeah, I have that feeling every year so far, knock on wood, over 20 years. It's been okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, just don't stop. Just keep.
Thank you very much for doing that. I really
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
that.
I'm pretty excited. It's I hope that everyone has a more successful beekeeping experience. And yeah, I'm really excited about yeah, developing a way of being more internally self-sufficient as a club and getting to a place in the future where we're raising queens for each other. But I think this is a really important first step to like really improve the genetics of our community so that open-mated queens have better genetics.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Gaea?
I need to write it.
Okay, go ahead and write it. Go ahead and write it. Take your time.
All right. Okay.
Just as a quick announcement, while those last questions might be coming in, we are in terms of the packages. Remember that we are going to be doing. There's the great package installation video, which is available on the YouTube channel and linked on our website. And then we're also going to be doing a package install demonstration this coming Saturday on April 4th at the Club Apiary. So it's on the event calendar. Just make sure you sign into the event calendar and you'll be able to see it and register there if you want to see a hands-on demonstration of a package installation. And then we also have a 2-week follow-up that occurs the weekend after the packages are delivered so that you can see what 2 weeks after installation looks like. So that gives you a kind of a week lead time to gauge your own growth of your package. So if you're interested in that, that's available on the event calendar. And I think that's a lot. You know, there's a lot of resources. If you missed it, Gaea and Mary did a presentation on the queens and the queen purchase and the packages and hygienic behavior earlier in the season, and that's also available on the YouTube channel as well. Are there other resources out there that maybe we can mention, Gaea?
I'd like to just say to find those videos on the MDBA website. I just went through it. You log in as a member, and then on that page you'll see on the right member resources, and you click on member resources, and on the right scroll down and you'll see package B and queen installation. You click on that, and then there's the MDBA package and queen installation video. That's the one that I did for packages and what to look at. It goes very much into what to look at with the queen. And then Randy Oliver did one on package installation as well. So those are both there on the website.
And I'm also going to put in the chat, I'm going to put the link to the MDBA YouTube channel so you can also find it directly.
Great. And I was just going to say we have 3 hours and 54 minutes left to buy packages. I think there are 11 more Golden West packages available. And in the next week, anticipate the email from Mary and myself with instructions for package and queen pickup. So it will arrive shortly. And the pickup day again is April 11th.
Excellent. Ellen, in the chat, Ellen Walters commented about calendaring, just thinking about calendaring and about preserving the old queen, because there may be situations where you mentioned about sort of dispatching the queen, Gaea, but there might be situations where someone is requeening a colony or producing, you know, pulling a split and requeening a queenless split, like producing a new nuke. So there might be other ways that people are you know, using this for increase rather than simply replacement of existing queens. And Ellen mentioned for calendaring, preserving old queen, set up a nuke like that split on 4.8, install old queen on 4.9, and nuke, start feeding queenless hive on 4.9, and queens arrive on 4.11. So it's a good idea, as you mentioned, like to kind of like calendar out for yourself when would you be making these different hive manipulations, depending on what you're doing. If you're dispatching a queen, or if you're setting up the existing queen in a nuke. And one thing maybe to mention is that if you are requeening, is, you know, if you're requeening, it is sometimes a good idea to pull the existing queen from the colony into a different location, because she'll continue laying, she'll continue sort of producing brood in that location, whereas the foragers will remain in the existing location for the benefit of that new queen. So a thought there in the comments.
Yeah, I think one of the things Ellen also is, you can use with what Ellen is saying is if you're really nervous about whether you're going to successfully requeen and you have the equipment and your colony is strong that you can spare, you know, a couple frames of brood out of it, then you can put her in a little nook and just until you know that your queen's taken, you know, the new introduction has worked for you before you kill your old queen. It's just insurance, but they get more comfortable with requeening.
Very good. I think that's everything. Gaea, anything else?
Oh, just thank you, Mary, for your mentorship. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you. I like to see
Thank you.
faces.